For those of you who don't know, my name is Brandon. I'm the Senior Director of Strategy here at Roomvo, and I just wanted to thank you guys for coming today. It's been super humbling, this whole process, and for those of you who have come since day one, a massive thank you to you guys and the ongoing support. And for those of you who this might be your first webinar with us, I love the Roomvo University series. We always get to bring on amazing guest experts from around the industry who share their corner of the world with us. And today is no different. Today is going to be a super unique topic for us from someone that I care about deeply. And I'm super excited for you to hear what Todd has to say. Before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping, some exciting news to share. This is always a platform where really we share some news with you guys that you know most people either haven't heard yet, or it's really new to the market, maybe in the last couple of weeks, and maybe you haven't had a chance to see it. So I'm going to share my screen here. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah,
Jim?
I'm seeing a white
Cool.
screen.
Okay, I'll play it. So that's our new Roomvo kiosk, and our Roomvo kiosk is now, it's actually already in showrooms across the US, and it is actively shipping. There's a wait list that now goes into August or September, I think. It's a 43-inch touchscreen interactive display that lives in your showroom and allows customers to walk around your showroom, scan QR codes on their favorite SKUs to create a curated, personalized list, and go back to that touchscreen to bring those products to life on this massive display. For me, this is one of the most exciting innovations we've had in a long time, and we're confident that this is going to revolutionize the consumer shopping experience for flooring retailers. If you kind of saw in the background, you can even change the walls and the countertops. Unlike most displays in this industry, this is not locked to one brand. This works with every single SKU that's in Roomvo today, and with hundreds of manufacturers, it means that we can actually help you digitize your entire showroom, at least 80% of it, if not more today. So as per usual, with this event, with the kiosk, with really everything that we do, it's only possible because of those hundreds of manufacturers that support us and join our platform. And obviously you guys who continue to show support with getting these different products, incorporating it into your showroom experience, giving us a ton of feedback to improve upon it, and showing up to events like these to show your support and to help us build a bigger network and a more powerful network. It just pushes us to be way better. So thank you. And on that note,
someone's just asked, how can I get a kiosk in my showroom? Where should they go?
Yeah, just email your Roomvo rep, or you can shoot me an email. It's just brandon@roomvo.com. It's super easy. We can get on a call. We'll walk you through all the specs. We'll talk to you about your business and make sure it makes sense for you first. And it's a $100 refundable deposit. And we're shipping them out first come, first serve. So to reserve a spot, just shoot your Roomvo rep or myself an email, and we'll get that set up for you in no time. On that note, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, and then I'm going to introduce our co-host, and then we're going to get into today's topic, which is super relevant for everyone on this call. Our guest speaker is Mr. Todd Callaway, the founder and president of CallaCom, a marketing communication company dedicated to helping businesses define their messaging and elevate their connection to customers. Prior to this, Todd was a digital marketing and communications leader for top flooring brands like Shaw, which is where I got the pleasure to meet him. During a corporate career that spanned more than 20 years, he helped implement a wide range of emerging digital marketing tactics, including websites, social media pages, web services, digital ad programs, search engine optimization, so much more. The foundation of CallaCom is Todd's belief in effective communication. He appreciates the power of stories, information, and inspiration to help clients grow their business and reach their unique goals. Jim Armstrong, our fearless co-host, an internationally known trainer and coach for flooring dealers, and the founder and president of Flooring Success Systems, a marketing services and coaching program for dealers. Since 2007, thousands of dealers across the US and Canada have relied on Jim's methods to get more customers, higher margins, and gain an unfair advantage over the big box stores while living the lifestyle they deserve. And I think you got a boot camp coming up, Jim. I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about that and share Todd and get into this presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick on the boot camp, we've got a lot of dealers have a lot to be worried about right now. There is massive inflation, possible recession coming, not to mention the ongoing competition from box stores and national chains. Add to that, ChatGPT and artificial intelligence are set to disrupt everything happening online, including your digital marketing. The good news is there's massive opportunity for dealers to leverage this situation if they take correct action. And that's why on Friday, June 30th, I am hosting the Market Dominator Virtual Boot Camp. It's a full day boot camp where we're going to do a couple of things. First, we are going to recreate the blueprint for your business. We're going to create a new blueprint, a new vision for your future. We're going to set the goals for you to dominate into the future in your market area. We're going to spend the first part of the day setting up your business, creating a blueprint so that it works for you instead of the other way around. So you're able to take the time off that you want, work the hours that you choose, and have a growing business. Then in the afternoon, we're going to pour fuel on the fire. We're going to put in place a marketing machine to generate clients regardless of economic conditions. And these are evergreen. So if it doesn't matter what changes are coming in technology, it doesn't matter. These are systems that will continue to work regardless. Okay. So if that is of interest to you, I'm putting in the chat box right now my website, which is flooringsuccesssystems.com. It's only letting me do it to the host and panelists. Let's see. Okay, so it's flooringsuccesssystems.com. Could you type that into the chat, Brandon? It's not letting me do it. Flooringsuccesssystems.com. So Brandon's putting it into the chat, and while he does that, if you're interested, we are going to be officially opening this to registration in a few days. Seating is very limited, so if you'd like to be notified when we officially open registration, go to flooringsuccesssystems.com. Brandon just put the link in the chat, and you can get on the list. Now, without further ado, we're going to bring Todd on. I'm excited to have Todd here because a giant problem in the flooring industry is Me Too copycat type of messaging. Virtually every dealer, every flooring marketing that you see offline or online is business name at the top, a list of products that they sell, and contact information. The messaging is very, very, very identical. And I've been railing against this for years and teaching dealers what to do instead. And that's why we brought Todd on. Todd is going to put you on the path to creating your unique message that gets your ideal prospects to stand up, take notice, and create differentiation between you and all the other dealers in your area. So Todd, super excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Jim, and thank you, Brandon. I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate what you're doing, and just congratulations on the success of the Roomvo webinars in general, because I think they're providing a tremendous service, and it's an honor today to be invited. So thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who has registered and is here today. I hope it's going to be a topic that's interesting to you, but most of all, I hope it's going to be helpful to you as you start thinking about messaging to your customers, maybe in a new way. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right, can you see that?
We can.
Okay, very good. So I love this topic of how to stand out in a mediocre world. But before I dive into that, I want to show you a piece of artwork that I encountered just a couple of weeks ago at an arts festival in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is near where I live. Let's see. It's not. Hold on just a moment. Technical difficulties already.
Are you trying to get the slide to advance, or is it another?
Yes. Let me stop sharing just a moment.
Todd, you might have to share your screen with all the icons on the desktop. That would be crazy.
Exactly. I was hoping you wouldn't see that.
Desktop. Don't know if that's working. Oh, there we go. There you go.
Okay, good. Okay, there is the artwork. So the artist's name is Amy Koch, and her company is Paper Loft Creations, and her entire booth was filled with all of these small, intricate, detailed, and frankly, happy, colorful scenes. And all of them had a message, an inspiring message, a short message of some kind. And I was preparing for this. I knew that this was on the calendar. I was excited about it. We had this topic, how to stand out in a mediocre world. And I'm going to zoom in on what the message is right in the middle. You can see right over that person. It was, I didn't get out of bed to be ordinary. And as soon as I saw that, I thought this is perfect for our session, because all of us need a little bit of that message every single day. Is I didn't get out of bed to be ordinary. But I also want to show you an additional piece of artwork. Now, this one is just a couple of 100 yards out my window. I live in Ringgold, Georgia. I'm just across the street from City Hall. And just beyond that, there is this. So this is a mural of Dolly Parton across an entire building. Dolly Parton was married in Ringgold, Georgia. And so I have to tell you that our entire town has kind of, adopted her, and definitely admire, the entertainer, the business person, the philanthropist that she is. And I wouldn't want you to think that I'm just resorting to showing a beloved icon just to try to make you feel good at the front of this webinar, even though I hope it does that. There is actually a point. So if you zoom back a little bit, hers also has a message, and I'm going to zoom in on what it says. It says, it's hard to be a diamond in a rhinestone world. So as I was getting ready for this, I was thinking, all three of these things basically say the same thing. How to stand out in a mediocre world. I didn't get out of bed to be ordinary. It's hard to be diamond in a rhinestone world. And I thought surely one of these will sort of be inspirational to everybody who's watching this, because the bottom line is this. When you went into business, there's not a single one of you who set out to be mediocre. There's not a single one of you who set out to be ordinary or to create just more rhinestones. In every case, you were starting your business for a reason, and you wanted to do some things differently. And so for the next 35, 40 minutes or so, I want us to think about those things that do make you different. And in many ways, things that make you not just ordinary, but actually extraordinary. And it's those things that we want to highlight. And what I hope that you'll leave here today with is a commitment to actually share those things with your customers in a way that you might not be doing yet. Because, you know, to be honest, if you don't share those things, no one will. And so that's what we want to make sure that you're doing. So I thank you for the introduction, Jim, and sort of helping explain what the need is. And I felt like in the email that you sent and the script that you put together, it really did define that well. And I realized you just sort of repeated those things. And you're right, so many websites or so many communication channels, these are really the only three things that people talk about: the name of the business, the list of products, and their contact information.
I call them name, rank, and serial number.
That's right. So it's the name, rank, and serial number. And that is what is happening in so many communities, so many stores. And so basically, if that's all you're saying about yourself, there's really nothing that separates you from your competitors. And like you said, Jim, it's at that point that people really start only comparing based on price, which our industry has talked about for years isn't good for anybody. And so when you think about websites, you know that there are a lot of other things on the websites, but there's not really messaging about your company itself and about the service that you provide. And so hopefully those are things that we're going to address. Now, I do want to say that all three of those things are critical. Of course, you've got to do those things, but we're going to hopefully inspire you today to do a little bit more. Now, what you say about your business absolutely influences whether customers choose to come into your store, you know, whether they make that initial visit. It also influences what they think about you once you get there, and then how they talk about you after the fact, whether they've bought from you or not. And so there really is a lot of power in you helping inform what that message is. Now, we know that 97% of people learn more about local companies online than anywhere else. But if our online channels are really only talking about, you know, name, rank, and serial number, then you're not going to be able to make a lot of impact. And the thing about it is, all of you have messages that need to be shared. And if you don't share them, you're not giving the customer the chance to be influenced by those things that make you different. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, is the way to think about your messaging in a way that will actually influence your customers, whether they're choosing to come into the store or if they've already bought from you. So we've described this all along as it's going to be a work session. So I want you to find something to write on, because as we're going through this, some of the things that you jot down will be, I think, very helpful to you, you know, later today, in the days to come, as you try to put some of these things into place. So I'm going to go through a couple of questions, and I'd love for you to write down your answer for yourself later, but also I'd love to see some of you share some of that in the chat if you're willing. But we're going to start. So outside of these three things that we've talked about with your name, what you sell, and contact information, the first question, I want you to say, what is the one thing you most want potential customers to know about your business? I'm going to give you just a few seconds to jot a few things down. What is the one thing you most want them to know? I think a lot of people may potentially fall into two different camps here. You could be having trouble narrowing it down to one thing, or you may be struggling to come up with the one thing you most want to know. Either of those are messaging problems, because if you're thinking of too many things, that means you haven't narrowed them enough to really make them usable. Or if you're struggling thinking of things outside of what you sell, what the name is and how to contact you, again, that sort of reiterates the need to be able to think about this, you know, in a different way. Would a couple of you be willing to type in some of the things that you're thinking in the chat in terms of what is one thing you most want potential customers to know about you? And Jim and Brandon, I'm not actually able to see the chat with this view, so if anybody throws out anything, I'd love for you to share them with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, put in the chat box. Let's give everybody a minute to jot this down.
Jim, I saw you were writing. I also was writing there. I don't know if for me, because you're making me think now, Todd. The one thing that's always bothered me is that Roomvo is associated as a visualizer, and we are finally breaking out of that. And the one word or the one sentence I have here is more than a visualizer. Just about making sure that it gets out there. We have some good ones here. Someone wrote local and family owned since 1969.
Love that.
And you know what? Another, maybe folks, you can write it in the Q&A for now. It looks like I have to enable the chat the chat window, and I will do that. But if you could write your responses in the Q&A box, I will read those out too.
Yeah, let's use the Q&A box, everybody. And I'll read mine real quick here because you're making me think as well, Todd. So what I want them to know is that we're going to help them fill their schedule with quality clients who are happy to pay premium prices for great service.
Excellent.
I have to pick one thing.
That's great. And think about the power of knowing what that one thing is. And once you've got that, think about the way that you'll be able to use it. And we're going to come up with some additional things too. I love it. We'll
Masterpiece Floors says we transform homes through providing quality flooring solutions and excellent customer experiences.
Very good. Very good.
Well, we've got a lot of these good.
We got a lot. This is awesome. I want my customers to have the education to know how to buy the floor they desire versus me selling them something, which I love.
That's great.
Matthew Fisher, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, those are really good, and I love that people are entering them, and so we'll be able to have those and to learn from them. So thank you for doing that, and we're going to keep doing that on some of these other questions too. Okay, I'm going to go to the second question. If you were to ask your employees what you most want customers to know, what do you think they would say? Do you think that they would write down the same thing you wrote down? Or let me also ask it in a different way. If you were to ask 10 employees, how many different answers do you think you might get?
And by the way, while folks think about this exercise, I don't know if I've ever seen so much engagement in this chat box in my life. So I'm super excited about this. I think we have well over 30 responses for what it's worth.
I'm glad. Is anybody able to, like, are there any thoughts about this second question yet? The idea of what employees might think you most want customers to know?
Masterpiece Floors has a great one here. They're suggesting that they would say the same thing because they go over their vision weekly, which is huge. I don't know how frequent that is.
That is really huge. So the fact that they would be on the same page with you, that's phenomenal. Congratulations.
By the way, if everybody could, let's just switch to the Q&A box. That's going to make it easier for us to answer. So put going forward, just put everything in the Q&A box if you could.
Okay, I'm going to go to a third question really quick. And because all of these three kind of work together, the third question is, where can customers find the one thing you most want customers to know about your business? So the first question is, what is it? The second was, are your employees aware of it? And could they give you the same answer? And then the third question is, where can customers find this exact same information?
And I guess to illustrate this even further, the point I guess you're making is not where do you hope that customers will find it, but quite literally, where is it and how easy is it perhaps to get to, even if it exists?
That's exactly right. That's right. So let me even ask you, Brandon. I think that one was such a great point of we are beyond visualizer. Where are some of the places that you were telling that story from Roomvo's point of view that you are more than the visualizer?
Yeah, up until recently in our head. This was a conversation that we've recently had. Even our trade show booths have been look, the visualizer has that aha moment. It's a great thing to demonstrate, but you got the kiosk, you have websites, we can do paint today and countertop, right? So it's even, maybe it's even worse. It was a flooring visualizer. Forget all the other surfaces we could do and all the other products that we offer, a flooring catalog we have now. So yeah, it's tough. We're redesigning our website around this experience now.
That's very good. And as retailers think about this idea of where customers can find it, I don't want you to only think about your website, because your showrooms are also a place where this message could and potentially should. I don't know exactly what messages we're talking about yet, but the places where customers can find this, there are a wide range of places. But the point is, we want to make sure that it's not something that's just in your head. Like, what are the ways that we can get it to a place where customers can actually encounter it and therefore be influenced by it? And so the reason I ask those three questions, let's see. Yes. So those three questions often kind of bring up three issues, potentially. There are three different issues. One is the message itself. Have you truly defined the things that are most important to you, the things that you want your customers to know? The next is your organization aligned and recognizing their role in bringing it to life? And then third is the delivery method. What is the way that you're getting that message out there? Now, today, we're going to spend most of our time on this first one, this message, because I want to kind of go through a couple of scenarios and hopefully make you think about things in a slightly different way. And I still want you to have your notebook out, because I want you to have some things that you have jotted down that will actually be helpful as you go to this next stage. But really, we ask those three things because there are those three different elements, and all of this play a role in helping you stand out, because you have to have the message. Everybody in your organization needs to be on board, and you've got to make sure that the customers can find it. Now, what we find is that a lot of organizations are really strict about their name, about their logo, about their colors, some about their fonts, not everybody, but it's like these types of elements, people get really, they're sticklers about, which is good. They should be, absolutely. But what we often find is that the idea of the messages, the things we most want to say about ourselves, often go undone. And so that's what we're going to address today. Now, people are going to form opinions about your business, and they will also talk to others. And the question is, are you going to influence what they say? And the power to influence is absolutely in your hands. 95% of customers read reviews before making a purchase, but you've got to remember, all of those customers also wrote those reviews. And so you have a role in helping them decide how they describe your business. And if you do this well, they will help share the message for you. So when you share your message, customers, well, they help spread it, when they write those things. I'm just going to go through a couple of these things really quickly, just so you know that there is actually something behind this. This isn't just a matter of we think this works. But the Journal of Business Research has described that when a company effectively communicates its brand personality and establishes a strong self-brand connection, it positively influences consumer attitudes and emotional responses. This next publication highlighted the importance of consistent and well-communicated branding and rebranding efforts, and that effective self-presentation influences consumer perceptions and strengthens customer loyalty. And then consistent and congruent communication actually positively influences consumer perceptions, increased brand liking, and purchase intention. So that's just a quick overview of, there's some data behind this. But the one thing that I think that I also want to get the message out to you today is that this doesn't have to be as difficult as a lot of marketers make it. Now, I've got a couple of things listed on this page that you're probably all used to hearing about or seeing, either from other marketers or from your own marketers, your own experience, whether it's a mission statement or your value statement or a unique selling proposition, personas, consumer journeys, taglines, visions. All of these things can be important. All of these things, as a marketer, I appreciate all of them and believe in all of them. And I've taken part in creating many of them, but I also know this often. They are daunting. They are difficult to create, and many of them can be difficult to use, because you've probably all experienced kind of maybe creating a mission statement where you were trying to truncate a lot of different information down to a very few words or a very short sentence. And so the process of coming up with something that in and of itself encompasses everything that you want to share becomes very difficult. And so I know that they're hard to create. I also know that they're hard to use on a day-to-day basis. I'm not wanting to discount the value of them, but what I am thinking today, just for this, is let's simplify it a little bit. And I'm going to ask you this one fundamental question. What do you want customers to know about you? Just a list. I know we kind of started out with that question of what do you most want them to know? And a couple of you, I think a lot of you were able to write something in. I think that's fantastic that you've got some things in mind. But for those of you who are struggling to narrow it down, I don't want you to think, oh, it's got to be this one phrase and nothing else. Because the fact is, you've all got complex businesses. You do a lot of things for multiple audiences, and you sell a lot of products, and there are a lot of things that go along with that. There are different ways that you sell, whether it's financing or designer-driven type of consultation. There are a lot of messages that are important for customers to know, and I worry that a lot of the things that we do in marketing are so tied to narrowing it down that sometimes we make it difficult on you. So what I want you to think about today is, what do I want customers to know about and my business? And I want you to acknowledge and feel perfectly comfortable with the fact that there are going to be several messages. You don't have to narrow it to just one, because this list that we're going to put together, this is a very, elementary drawing, but it's basically going to be this. It's going to be a list, and you can use this list in a variety of ways for the next year. And if you were to think, what are the things that if 1 year from now, at the end of May of 2024, if my customers knew these things about me and my store, would I feel comfortable with it? And the idea is that on one page, You can put those things without trying to limit it or without trying to narrow it too much. Does that make sense? The one rule that I am going to say is that it's got to be customer focused, not you focused. And just a quick example of what I mean by that, a you focused idea is our sales associates having combined experience of more than 50 years in the flooring business. That's kind of a you focused idea. The idea that's customer focused, how do you turn that around to make sure that if somebody is reading it, if somebody is considering your store, you'll always want to put it from their point of view. So our sales associates' 50 years of combined experience will help you through every step, from finding your perfect floor to having it expertly installed. It's just a small twist to make sure that everything on the list is from the audience's point of view. And in this case, what you're putting together, the audience that you're thinking about are potential customers. I know a lot of you also have multiple audiences in terms of your customers. You may have, a commercial segment, you've got residential segment. Today, we're mostly thinking about this idea of your, residential customer segment, but the same principles will apply no matter what audience you're thinking of. If you do have multiple audiences, I would ultimately encourage you to create multiple lists. You've got a list for this audience and a list for that one, but it's simply, what do you want customers to know about you? Now, I'm going to walk you through a couple of scenarios. I want you to get your notebook out again, because I want you to think about a couple of scenarios that I hope will make you think of things in a slightly different way. Okay, so the first one, if a neighbor who is a good friend asks for flooring advice, what do you say about it? I don't want you to think about something that will be written on a website or will be in a commercial. I want you to think, if a neighbor who actually likes you a lot and you know them well asks for advice, what do you say about it? Please take a few minutes and write something down.
Todd, what if your neighbors hate you?
What was that, Brandon?
What if your neighbors hate you? Like,
That
well, good, huh? The next
would
neighbor.
not be as good. So the reason I want you to think about it this way is we talk to our friends, we talk to people that we know differently than we think about, random strangers, or, the kind of, even if they're potential customers, we don't think in the exact same way. We use more day-to-day language when we are talking with a friend, when it's somebody that we know personally. And so I want you to jot some things down. Think of a person specifically. How would you describe your business to that person? And the main reason that we do this is so you don't sound like a brochure, but you sound like a real person.
What this brings to my mind is I'm imagining like my sister or my mom, and
Absolutely.
she's going to get flooring. What am I going to say to her? Well, I'm going to warn her that there are people out there who are going to rush through the job. I'm worried about that. I'm worried that they're going to spend $8,000 and get the wrong product, that somebody's just going to sell them whatever is going to get them the highest commission or whatever. And so I would be talking to them in those terms. And here's how to avoid that. Here's how to get something you're going to really be happy with.
And think about what you just described to Jim. If somebody were going through the shopping process, and if they encountered somebody who was giving that kind of personalized advice, that kind of empathetic advice, think about the power of that. Think how it would influence you and how it would make you say, okay, that is somebody I can trust. That is somebody I can believe in. I want to work with that person. And so that question is designed to think of those types of things, because when you take it to that more personal level, then you really can reach people in a way that you can't when you just say something like, we're Southeast Tennessee's premier flooring retailer. You know, that's not the type of thing you say to a person you know. You really use real language to describe how you can help them. And Jim, what you were describing is a perfect illustration of how this question can unlock different things than what you typically put on a brochure.
Yes, if my mother came to me and asked me for flooring advice, I would say, well, Jimbo's Floors is #1 in customer satisfaction. We pride ourselves in making our customers happy, and satisfaction is guaranteed. That's what I would say to my mom, just like anybody.
This is great. So has everybody got something written down on that one? Okay, I'm going to go to the next scenario. I want you to imagine that you're speaking at career day at an elementary school. What do you say about your business? And write it down, please. And if some of you are willing to share it through chat, I'd love it.
For your last question about the neighbor, you know, I was reading through some of the responses we got.
Oh, great.
Scott Allen wrote here that he doesn't have a canned answer. You have a conversation to understand their needs before they ever pitch. And I really like that, because I feel like everyone on their website, most folks go into this hard sell about what makes them different. And in this crazy, maybe backwards way, what makes it different is this really honest approach, you know? And I'm not suggesting that that everyone isn't honest, I guess. Everyone tries to make it a lot more. Maybe that's the point, right? Everyone tries to make it so polished. And this is just like the perfect answer.
I love that answer. You're right, Brandon, that if that were one of those stores' messages of, come in, let us talk to you about, you know, what you're doing, like being really honest about needing to hear what they've got going, if that becomes one of your store's key messages to describe that that's a part of your process, instead of jumping into that hard sell, as you mentioned, that can be really powerful. And that could influence a lot of people to say, yeah, that's the type of business I want to work with.
Yeah, there's some amazing ones. Pam wrote, we treat all of our customers like their family, because they are. We always ask our customers questions about their needs. A lot of the times what they think they wanted when they came to our store isn't what actually works out to be the best for those needs.
Oh, I love that. And so what immediately comes to mind as you read that is, I hope that is written somewhere so that people can actually encounter it and not just experience it. And yes, they've got to experience it. And when they do, they will love it. But in order for it to actually attract people and for you to make yourself different from your competitors, I hope that very message that you just read out, Brandon, I hope that it's somewhere where a consumer can find it and learn about it before they ever walk in the store, because that's incredibly powerful.
Pam, I would, my advice would be to copy and paste what you just wrote. And now everybody else, don't copy and paste Pam's, your own, but Pam, you should, and don't rework it.
Yeah, that's
rework it to where it sounds like something from Madison Avenue ad company.
That's right. That's what you want to do.
This sounds very human and like a real live human being. People want to do business with people, not with big impersonal corporations.
That's exactly right. So Brandon, are we seeing anything on what people would say at career day for kids?
Yeah, we got a good one here. What's your favorite color? We can put that color in your room and make it cool, which is exactly what you should probably.
Okay, Summer, that is exactly the kind of human language. I'd put that somewhere on your website. We can put that color in your room and make it cool. I love it.
I love that too. And the reason we ask this question is because we do explain things differently when we're talking to kids, and we don't assume knowledge that they may not have. And so we often explain it better. We often explain it more interestingly. I mean, ideal, we make it cool. So as you think about some of these messages, think about it from various points of view like that and use that type of personality in it, because that will absolutely help set you apart from your competitors. You're not seeing that kind of language frequently in our industry, or frankly in any industry. And I think real people want to talk with real people and get help. And so sometimes I think it's almost giving yourself permission to take this kind of language and use it in a bigger and broader way. I love the one that you shared. That's perfect. Okay, the next scenario. You ready? If you're at your high school reunion and an old flame says, "What do you do?" What do you say about your business?
While folks write that down, Todd, you said something in your last comment there that I think is so, maybe it was, you said it in passing, but I think it's so important. You said, I hope that someone has this, that someone can find this part of your business before they walk into your showroom.
Yeah.
And, at the beginning of this session, you made a comment, you asked everyone here to write where a customer could find this message. And a ton of people wrote Google, Facebook, or their website. Shout out to Nasreen who wrote, their Roomvo site, but I'm biased. But a ton of people wrote through customers, word of mouth, in our showroom, under a sign in our showroom right when you walk in. And this is conflicting, right, with one of your first slides where 97% of folks are shopping and they start their search online. And I think you should probably have it in your showroom front and center. But what are your thoughts on the importance of having that online?
Yeah, I agree 100%, Brandon. It does need to be there because people are using those sites to determine where they walk into. I mean, it's a big part, especially with this kind of purchase. And I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't already know. With this kind of high consideration purchase, high cost purchase, they are absolutely looking at some of these sites in advance. And so if you're having that kind of message and the ability to help them and talking in very real language about the way that you're going to help them through the process, I hope that they find that on the websites before they go in, because I think if they did, they would most certainly come to your store. And I think what Jim and I talked about at the beginning of the webinar is so many sites. We look at so many of them, and they really don't dive into any of that kind of language. Instead, it's here's who I am, here's what I sell, here's how to contact me. And so I do think that it's incredibly powerful to have it on your sites, have it on your social pages, have it on, maybe a sponsored ad, on social pages. It can be shared in a wide variety of ways, not just your website, but I hope it's not just in the showroom alone. So I hope you've had a chance to write a few things down with this one. And the reason that I want to ask this one is because I want you to brag a little bit. If you're talking with an old girlfriend or an old boyfriend from high school, you're not just going to say in very subtle terms who you are and what you sell. You're going to find the superlatives. You're going to try to impress them, and you should. And so I want you to write some things down that maybe are outside of what you tend to think, because I think most of us are fairly modest by nature. And I want you to write some things down that truly are superlatives about your store, brag on yourself, and think about it, just like you would. You want to make sure that person knows what they missed out on, and definitely you're wanting to impress. Does that make sense? Is anybody posting anything on this one, Brandon?
I sell the high quality flooring to high quality clients. You wouldn't fit in our demographic is a good one.
I'm thinking it may have. Excellent. Thank you for submitting some of those, and thank you for reading it out, Brandon. Okay, the next one. Okay, a friend across country calls and is going to buy flooring. I want you to finish this sentence. When you select your flooring store, make sure it what? And as you're thinking about this one, I don't want you to think, I don't want you to try to figure out how can you sell this person flooring from your store across the country. That's not what the exercise is. I want you to sort of think about what advice you would give a friend who is searching for a flooring store in their own community. When you select your flooring store, make sure it does what?
Yeah, Jason Jabaro wrote, comes from a reputable independent dealer.
Read it one more time, Brandon. Say it. I didn't quite.
That it comes from a reputable and independent dealer.
Excellent. Yep. I like that. Kind of really honing in on that independence. That's good. And I think that's the type of message that a lot of people may need to hear and may need to understand it a little bit more. What does that necessarily mean, being an independent retailer?
So you inspired me with that one. So for my business, I wrote, when you select your business coach, make sure they have a track record for helping dealers make a hell of a lot more money while working the hours they choose.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure that the sales reps ask you what you want and help you get what you need from Jason. Summer Road has experienced installers on staff. Masterpiece Road is part of the flooring association. I love this, right? Because it's what's important to each retailer on the call. It's amazing.
And a lot of times it just sort of, flips your thinking just a little bit, because as you're thinking about your store, yes, you think about the things that are important to you. But when you really think about helping somebody else find a store, it makes you think about the things that you value that you might not have thought of when you were just going through the normal exercises. So my guess is some of the things that you have just jotted down from this question need to ultimately end up on your list of key messages that you want customers to know about you. Yeah, I've got one more of these scenarios that I'm going to go through. A customer is deciding between your store and a competitor. Finish the sentence. I know we'll get the business because why? Great athletes go into almost any situation thinking that they're going to win it. And so I want you to sort of think about this question with that same sort of confidence. There are things about your business that are better than your competitor. That there are things that you have put in place that make it better. And so I want you to have that same confidence. I'm going to win this, and this is the reason why. And I want you to pinpoint specifically what are those things that make you confident that you're going to win it.
And what you said is important there, Todd, specifically why. And so that can't be something that everybody else does or says.
That's exactly right.
I love this question because it's going to make you think about what it is that actually differentiates you, but a differentiator that your customer actually cares about.
And Masterpiece comes in with another awesome one.
Let's hear it.
We'll get the business because I don't work at the other place. I love that. That's awesome.
That is great.
Nezreen, similar, because they'll be working with someone like me, and we also have better products and pricing than anyone else. Ashton writes about the customer experience that's superior to everyone else.
Now, remember, our goal from all of this is for you to have, a list of what you want your customers to know about you. And we're going to talk a little bit about, how many, because this is always the question. Well, how many should be on the list? And honestly, this is something that's really more up to you. And so just in practical terms, I just want to say, I think if you're probably thinking 1 to 3, you may be clouded by some of the other conversations where, you've tried to truncate it down to something really small. If it's more than 10, I think you're trying to say too much. So I think probably 3 to 5 to 8, once you put that list together, you'll know if it feels like it kind of encompasses what you want customers to know about you. I know
And Todd, yeah, I was going to say maybe in the last couple of minutes, you could just share sort of where the best avenue is to get this message out.
Absolutely. So I am going to, I've got, naturally, we've got a few more things here that we could have shared, but the conversation has been too rich, too great. And so if anybody would like, I've got sort of 10 additional tips, just tips around the idea of other things to keep in mind as you're putting down, as you're putting this list together. I've got my email at the end. If you would like to get that list of 10, I'll send it out. But ultimately, what I want to do, I'm going to skip down to several these last couple of slides, because once you have created, I just want to touch on those other two elements. We talked about message, alignment, and delivery. And so once you have put together this list of messages that really are key to helping you describe your business in new ways, it's critical that your whole team is on board with this. And so I would recommend you having a work session with some of your team members to help you finalize the list and also get input from everybody. And then once you do finalize it, I would say you need to either have a company-wide meeting or a lunch where you talk about it, because everybody not only needs to know what's on the list, where that's critical. I mean, I'm sure as you were thinking about that, one of those first two questions, if the employees don't know what they are, obviously you've got to tell them, but also I want you to tell them why it's important to you, because with that information, they'll be able to bring it to life in their interaction with people as well. Next, when you think about the delivery, you've got this list, you've got this defined list. On each one of them, you're going to sort of start to think, where does this key message need to live? Does it live on the website? If it does, where? Is it the homepage? Is it somewhere else? Sometimes I think things get lost on an About Us page or something like that, and people don't tend to look at it. So my guess is some of your messaging needs to be elevated on your site. Some of this needs to live in your showroom. Some of it may need to come to life in your sales process. It's a part of the conversation that your people have with customers. Sometimes it may be a blog post. Sometimes it may be an ad, a social media post. It may be all of the above. But once you have defined this list, think if you've got 8 to 10 items that you're going to share over the next year, think about the power of everybody in the company referring to that list. They think about their social media calendar, as they think about promotions, as they think about things that they want to put on the website. You may think of a trade strategy, or you may think of a special sale that you want to have, or even postcards you want to send. And this one list that you have put together can inform all of it. And when you do that, that's when you truly do start standing out from everybody else who is simply sharing what they sell and how you can contact them. So I know that was sort of a quick ending there, but I definitely hope that it's got you thinking about it in new ways. Along with those tips, I'm going to send you a couple of other thought starter questions. I loved the ones that we went to, but I've got some others that are also helpful for you to think about as you put together your list.
How can they get a hold of you, Todd, to get that?
Todd@CallaCom.com. I would love to hear from any of you.
Cool. And of course, if anyone also needs it, shoot me an email and I can connect you and Todd as well. Brandon@roomvo.com. I'm happy to do that. Diane already wrote thank you. Appreciate you in this thought-provoking process. And I echo that. Thank you to everyone on this call for joining and continuing to support us. You guys are the best. Thank you to Jim for always being our awesome co-host. And of course, Todd for joining us today. And I thought this was an amazing workshop. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge. And we will all speak soon. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.